Hello and welcome to our today's Let's Talk Science session. Today we will address a very interesting and up-to-date topic with the question, how do you use your own data for new business models? So it's all about data-driven business models to increase the performance of customer value creation processes and to monetize the performance of these improvements. Professor Metternich and Mr. Hoffmann will discuss in their presentation various examples to show possible problems and hurdles within the implementation of such data-driven business models, but also show possibilities how to overcome these. Professor Metternich is head of the Institute of Production Management, Technology and Machine Tools at the Technical University of Darmstadt. And Mr. Hoffmann is a member of his staff, Project Management of MIP and CIP. So let's start with the thesis of both speakers. Keep your hands off data business models because nearly 4/5 of these approaches in industry fail. So we are looking forward how this could be changed. I hand over to the two speakers. Thank you.
Okay. I hope you can hear me, and I say many thanks for this kind introduction, Dr. Schäfer. And my name is Joachim Metternich. This is Felix Hoffmann. He's a research assistant at our institute, and he's an expert in data-driven business models because his research is focusing this topic. Okay, and today we want to guide you a bit through this topic and give you a bit our experience, give you a bit back of our experience which we collected in joint research projects with industry. This broadcast is brought to you from our Learning Factory ZIP. What is a Learning Factory? In this Learning Factory we train students, educate students and train practitioners how to become lean, how to digitize a lean production system. Right now there is a workshop running, so if there is some noise in the background, this is coming from this workshop, but I hope it will not be too noisy. Okay, so let me address again our provocative thesis, which is don't do database business models. They make no sense. Why do we say this? Because there are many data available today especially from our industry 4.0 efforts. We have many more sensors. We have better connected cyber physical systems that deliver to us data that we can easily acquire. But we see that most of the database solutions fail. And research says that only 27% of projects that some researchers have looked at have been successful. And we have mostly failures due to difficult to define customer value. So it's difficult for the companies that offer those solutions to define what is really a customer value. And so it's difficult to develop a pricing model, and it's difficult to give a price to the customer that the customer is willing to pay. Database business models are too complicated because it's not only in your own competency to offer such a business model. You need interaction with different service providers, for example, artificial intelligence, platform service provider, and so on. And the knowledge built up is necessary, and it's expensive, especially for a medium-sized enterprise. This is sometimes too expensive. Well, so much about why you should not do this. But what does a database business model consist of? And we see three pillars that build the foundation for such a business model. And that is first that you need to be clear, what is the value proposition that you offer to your customer? What is the additional value that you will create with this service? Usually it's a service, a database service for your customer. That must be very clear. How will you create in your own organization this value? So how do you build this value chain? And what is then the revenue mechanism? How do you create cash from this? And of course, in the center of all, who is the customer? that you are serving and what's the customer need. And of course, you see, this is not an easy task to fulfill. And now I hand over here to my colleague.
Yeah, so thank you very much. And as Professor Metternich already stated, there are several reasons why a database business model or a database offering can fail in the market. And now I want to address several paradigm shifts that we found out during our research that have to be addressed in order to successfully develop your own database business model. So as you can see here, the first paradigm shift is that you have a change in your strategic mindset. And that is from a goods dominant to a service dominant logic. So as you can see, like in the classical product business, that is very widespread nowadays, especially in the machine tool company. You mainly use, if you have data as a waste product. It is collected in a big amount, but you just very sporadically really make a use out of the data that you collect. And if you want to be successful in a direction to let data become a part of your business models, you have to take several steps. So it's not directly the big bang, but you have to start with data as a tool. So how can data support your own processes in your own company? The second step would be, how can I integrate it really into my strategy in the own company? So you have to use data in order to build own capabilities and unique selling propositions within your own company. And the biggest step you can take is really that data becomes the core or the main point of your business model in general. And this is when the business concept is based on the generation processing and especially on the analysis of data in order to bring new value to your customers. And these three steps can only be taken if you really have a look at the product, the process, the service, and also the payment or the revenue models, which are in general more digital than usual in a holistic way. Another important thing that you have to address, I think that's nothing that is completely new to you, is the fact of customer centricity. So we already have since several years, so to say, the focus on customer-centric development of products. But if you look in these old paradigms, what do we really look at? Is the customer has a technical problem and we offer him a technical solution. So what you need to understand, or what we are understanding right now in general at the moment, is a technical problem of the customer with a value for the customer that can be really easily calculated, because in general you have all the necessary competences in-house in your own company. But with database business models, it's, as I just said, quite more complex, because you have to take into account the physical product as well as the service, as well as the payment model. So what we look at right now with these new database business models is a process problem that the customer has in general, and we offer a combination of a product and a service to address this problem. So you have to have a much more deep insight into the customer's needs, and this addresses the process problems of it. So the customer value in these process problems is generally quite vague, and thus it is pretty hard to get transparency about the customer value and to get customer acceptance, as well as a good pricing strategy for this. And also what you have to take into account, these competences are normally not all in-house, but you need to get like a strategic partnership, for example, with different companies in order to be able to address this problem. The third paradigm shift, and I think it really is a good connection to the point I addressed before, is the topic of customer retention. So if you look into the business models that are going on right now, especially in the machine tool industry, you are like focused on a one-time or sporadic exchange of services. So what is mainly in the focus is the point of sale of the machine. So when the machine goes from you to the customer. And afterwards, you only have like sporadic exchange. For example, you do a repair, you sell a spare part to your customer, and maybe you have like a little bit of a continuous contact to him over, for example, like a maintenance contract. For database business models, you really have to rethink the cost and also the revenue structures that occur, because you have a recurring and a continuous exchange of services between you and the customer. So the sale of the machine is only like the nucleus, so the starting point for what really is your business. And your business is selling database services to your customer that he can consume in different levels, as you can see in the lower illustration of the slide. So what you get is really a stronger relationship with your customer, because you integrate him into your own ecosystem, and you have a continuous exchange which can also help you to improve your physical products. The last paradigm shift I also think is really, really important if you look at database business model is the change in value creation. This is what you can see here. I think you all know it. A classic linear value creation with the manufacturer, the OEM in the middle, who has several suppliers who bring several machine parts, for example, into play. And then you have the direct contact of the manufacturer to the customer via the sales or, for example, like the service section. So your competency, as I just already stated, is largely located in your own company, and it is then a differentiating feature compared to the market. In new business models, you have to rethink your value creation in a cooperative way, and this is due to the fact that because of this high degree of interdisciplinarity that you have to show within database business models, you really have to go into strategic partnerships with different companies. For example, as you can see in this slide, with for example, a platform provider for the IoT, or for example, a data analysis company. So you have a wide variety of different competencies, especially in data science and ICT. And as you all know, you might want to build up these skills on your own. And I think it's generally a good strategy in mind. But you also have to keep in mind that to get those people into your own company, it's pretty hard to get this skill of a worker in order to perform these tasks within your own company. So this is the paradigm shifts I wanted to address, and all these paradigm shifts were already clear to us in the past, and we already used these paradigm shifts, or the insights on these paradigm shifts, to develop new business models for especially the machine tool industry, or for the production industry in general. And one example I have brought to you today is the pay-per stress approach that we developed at PTW, and it is a stress-based payment model for machine tools. And it's like we made our further thoughts on how can new revenue models for machine tools be designed. And what we saw is that in normal leasing models, there is always like an added price that you have to pay, because the leasee always takes into account that you might use the machine over the degree that it was originally sought for. And the pay-per-stress approach is a stress-based payment approach. So if you use the machine harder, you pay more. If you use the machine less, you pay less. And this is also depicted in the slide. And it really heavily depends on the exchange of data between the customer during the lifetime of the machine and the data analysis through different participants within the business model. And this is what we saw, is that the starting point might be this new revenue structure, but from exchanging data with your customers, there are several different business opportunities that arise. For example, with the data you already have and the data you already analyzed, you can also offer him maintenance services, which lead to lower downtimes. And this is also a service that you can monetize for yourself and get into a new form of like a service-based, data-based service business model for you. And it also showed for us that this highly disciplinary approach is highly complex to manage, and you really have to get into it. But with the right partners and with the right mindset, you can really make progress on this topic and really go forward. And with this example, I want to hand over to Professor Metternich again.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So, well, I want to share with you some learning, some amazing learning that Felix Hoffmann and myself made in a joint research project with one of our partners. There's a great company producing covers, protective covers for guideways and spindles in the driving component of a machine tool, and they protect those driving components like a driving spindle and a guideway. And you see here in this picture one of these covers, and those covers over the time they have some wear, and if they have wear, the protection is not as good as it was, and maybe there is damage then for the machine tool. And the idea of this manufacturer of those covers was to gather with us to develop a smart protective cover. A smart protective cover that would tell the user how much rest of useful lifetime there is still available from the data that is acquired from the process itself without inspecting the cover. That's the idea. So that is a typical area for data-driven business models. Maintenance, predictive maintenance maybe, to tell that you have to exchange a certain component of a machine tool before it causes a problem, before it causes a breakdown. And we gladly started this project with our partner, and we developed, we checked several sensors. We checked which sensor would give the best data in relation to the measured wear of this protective cover. And we found out that there should be only simple sensors, cheap sensors would make sense. And we started with very complicated solutions. In the end, it was a force sensor that we applied between the cover and the frame where the cover was attached, to get data and to find out if there is a classification into good or bad. So here you see that we were able to classify very well this protective cover into good or bad. Here you see the result of this work, and we had one of these covers on a test bench, and the cover was moved and moved back and forward for many days. And our trained model, of course, in the back there is a machine learning model that takes the data from the sensor, and it is already trained, and then it predicts how much lifetime there is still left. And there is a 1 which is 100%, and 0 is nothing left. And you see here the blue dots. This is a typical prediction that is made at a certain point of time, and the orange curve is the mean value from these predictions at this point in time. And you see numbers here, and every number is associated to a certain incident. For example, we could see that one of that the cover was damaged at a certain point, that there was some change in usage of that cover, more intense, and then you can see that the lifetime estimation follows this very well. So for each incident, you see usually that there is a decline in the current condition of this cover. So the model was working, the sensor was working, the technical solution was also working. So now the question is, what will our customer or our partner do with this? And then we found out that there was no business model behind. So our partner didn't have, and that was not part of our work, but we learned a lot from this, he didn't have a business model in mind. So it was not clear from the start how a customer like DMG Mori, for example, would integrate this solution into their machine, and how they would use the data from this to maybe build a dashboard from this, and how they would then charge the customer in addition for this new service. It was not clear. They didn't have an internal concept for industrialization of that new sensor that we found out, to build a new protective and smart protection here, which is including this sensor and including the prediction. No revenue model, how to charge their customers, and they were not aware that they had, of course, also to build up knowledge in their own company. It's not a university that will deliver this knowledge over time, because if we hand over the solution to a company, of course, they have to build up their own knowledge, and they need to maybe hire new people, or they need to build a partnership with another partner who will take over a part of this business. So this was the reason why this project, well, partly, I have to say partly, failed. So there's a huge learning, there was a huge learning from this project for both of us, I have to say. So I come more or less to the conclusion of our presentation, and I say, don't implement a database business model if you don't understand the way your customer will integrate a new service and a new product into his own value creation process. If you are not clear how much value you create with your service for the customer, because then you're not able to build a pricing model. And if you cannot make the customer's value transparent to the customer to get acceptance for your new solution. Don't do it if you are not willing to acquire the necessary competencies, hire the right people, or get a new partner aboard to cover the aspects of this new business model. And don't do it if you look for a big bang solution. Maybe you do it step by step. Start with a smaller solution and then roll it out. And last but not least, don't do it if you think that your current business model will be valid for the next 20 years. So why should you do it then? Of course, what I'm telling you here is do it, implement, address all these issues, and don't think that your current business model will be valid the next 20 years. It will change. It may change tomorrow, it may change in 2 years, but it will change. And you have a new solution that will create new business for you at hand. If you start not with a big bang, but with a smaller corporation, maybe with an university institute or another kind. So thanks a lot from my side. I hand back.
Thank you very much. That's a good introduction for the next slide. So if we fetched your interest in this topic, we also have several opportunities to go further into detail. We have two transfer projects at the PTW, so the Mittelstand Digitalzentrum Darmstadt and Comparky, where we have several offerings just on this topic. So a little bit of advertisement at this point, but if you are interested, you can definitely have a look on this. And it's, I think, a good way to go further and to start into this topic of database business models in your own company.
And this is for free. it's there for you. Please join us.
So with this, I can just say thank you very much from our side.
Thanks a lot.
And we are very happy to hear your questions. And also, if you have questions afterwards, you can contact us over these details. And also, you can have a look in our LinkedIn and our YouTube channel, where we also have some content or quite a lot of content right now about database business models. So it's definitely worth it.
Especially there is a great movie on the paper stress project, which is in German, but it's very comprehensive. It's a great movie. Please check it out. So now we are open for questions.
Yeah.
We're hoping for your questions.
Oh, thank you, Professor Metternich and Mr. Hoffmann, for your interesting presentation. I think it's a topic that companies should really look into, because these possibilities out of data give new opportunities, as you mentioned, for business, value-added business models for the customer, of course. So one question is, you mentioned the paper stress leasing, and you described that it's that you pay depending on the quantity of usage. But there must be a minimum cutoff, because if he does not use it, nobody makes money.
Yeah, that's completely right. So there definitely is, so to say, a window for the flexibility you give your customer with this, because I think it would never be economical in a way where you put a €500,000 machine and the customer uses it every once in a while for for a single component. So there's definitely like limits to this, but that's definitely a big part of the complexity this model brings, and it also shows very good the high interdisciplinarity, because we have our expertise, especially from like the general database business model perspective, and also from the data analysis perspective regarding machine tools. But what we don't have is like the expertise from the leasing companies, and that's what was one of our central partners in this case, that we really also use this partnership in order to like set these limits, in order to get to a economically viable path for companies to maybe once then really set this paper stress approach into a market position then. Yeah.
To make it short, the monthly payment consists of a fixed rate and a variable rate. And this variable rate is the one, of course, that we address.
Yeah.
Is this then, is a different naming, paper stress leasing? Is it similar to paper part, where you also have a minimum cutoff, because otherwise the machine producers would not be able to finance this, or you need financial partners?
It is neither pay-per-use nor pay-per-part. It is really paper stress. So in this project, we developed a sensor concept and a formula concept. So formulas behind the sensor concept and also artificial intelligence would take the data and calculate the amount of the rest of useful lifetime for certain key components of this machine tool, to then calculate how much value was used up during the last month, and then calculating the fee from that.
I think that was really one of the main points that we brought into the project, was the expertise on what parts are really mandatory in order to really execute this paper stress approach. So we identified, like, for example, the spindle is a component which is very critical to the machine itself, because we could see with some of our partner companies within the project that this is a very widespread reason for machine downtimes, and it's also a costly component. Like for example, there might be some smaller parts that you just would change in your general maintenance plan, but that's really the expertise that was necessary in order to develop this approach. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You also mentioned the question of a business model created by the sensor producer, that he sees what his sensor is. That's how I understood, that his sensor is has the potential to detect special things, but he did not have a business model. But is it the question of the sensor or the component producer, or is it not the competence of the system, which means machine producer, to develop a business models with the knowledge of what the sensor is capable of or whatever, because he has there's only one face to the customer, which is the system producer.
Yeah. Von Sie,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is absolutely right. So it is usually the OEM. In this case, it would be like a machine tool manufacturer who is the face to the end user. Yeah. And in the project that I described, it was the component manufacturer that is producing the covers that contacted us to start this project to develop a smart cover. But obviously, and that's what we found out during the project, there was no real communication before upfront with the OEM that would use this cover, and also maybe with the end user of the machine. And that is what Mr. Hoffmann tried to explain. For such a business model, you have different network partners, and that is so difficult, that makes it so complex. And if you don't clarify this collaboration in this value creation network up front, then you might, I don't say that you do, but you might fail, even though the technical solution is working, as we could show in this project.
And finally, the question, do you have examples that this is a business model that is picked up or accepted by customers?
I was sure this question would come, Wunzi.
Yeah, so what kind of business models do you mean? So just to understand the right question, so these business models in general, or?
Yeah, in general, like the question, pay-per-stress leasing.
So for the pay-per-stress leasing, you really have to say that it's a thing that is pretty much at the beginning right now. So it's not like really put into the market on the industrial level, but we fetched the interest of several different machine tool producers, not only the ones that were part of the project. And I think it's also a really good point to address this whole resilience topic that is popping up right now due to the increased flexibility. But as I just said, there's definitely some steps to go to put it into the market right now. But in general, like database business models that build on these, on the analysis of data from the customers, they are getting more and more really into the market. Like for example, you can see with all the big machine tool producers, like for example, Arborg or DMG Mori, they are more and more enriching their physical products with database services that they might charge for, they might not charge for, but it's definitely not only like you put a euro sign on the service that you have, but it can also be like, for example, to like bind the customer to your own ecosystem and maybe already put his decision what kind of machine he's buying next in front. So you definitely have to take all these aspects also into account. And I think all these big players really demonstrate that database business models are already working when you are like doing it the right way and in a step-by-step configuration.
Well, maybe I can add.
Yeah.
We sometimes, as I said, expect the big bang.
Yeah.
You want the business model that is carrying a complete company or a complete business today, and we don't have that. But we have many digital or database business models everywhere, where a company or an OEM gets data from their machine users to tell about the status of the machine and give advice what to do next. There is already the start of a digital business model. And we see this more and more evolving as the data are achievable and are easily available.
Okay, thank you all together for this interesting presentation and discussion afterwards. So to our users which are online, the next Let's Talk Science topic will touch the question of biological transformation within production, presented by the Institute of Mechanical Engineering from the Technical University in Dresden. And for today, I say hello and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.